Welcome in, everybody. I am the Crypto Bull God, and we are finally. It's been a very busy week, and I'm still putting out content. Hit the thumbs up button. I brought the little bell icon notification with me. So, click the thumbs up button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon for notifications. And make sure to drop a comment, as I appreciate everyone who um, is engaging with me. I want to be able to make sure I can. Okay, perfect. Now, bear with me. As you can see, I am not in my regular home office, right? So I am traveling, but I still wanted to make sure to get to the charts because there's a lot of interesting things that I've developed that I want to speak to. And there are predominantly, it looks like two, four, six, there are seven charts that we're going to speak to today. Okay, it's a little more chilly where I'm at, right? I'm not used to wearing a hoodie. The happy hour out. Then obviously for those who celebrate Christmas, such as myself, Merry Christmas, by the way. Happy Hanukkah. Happy whatever you celebrate. Happy Festivus for the rest of us, for those Seinfeld fans. But I'll be preoccupied as many of you will be this weekend, so I'm not going to put any content out until maybe the following Monday or Tuesday before um, next Monday or Tuesday. But more to come on that later. So again, thank you for everyone tuning in. I want to jump right into things, and I will get. Um, and I apologize. I apologize if things are buffering a bit. My connection is not as good. I'm not. I can see that it's Holly. It's not you. It's on my end. I apologize. More long term, I'm gonna have to figure out something there if I'm here doing these live streams because it's clearly it's a point of frustration for me when I'm live streaming and the connection's not good. But really, what I want to do, why? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I also haven't eaten dinner, so we're going to be eating and live streaming the charts at the same time. So, anywho, like I said, what I wanted to do is I wanted to take a look at it. Looks like seven charts here, okay? And I'm going to run through these seven charts with you. I'm going to share with you what, as always, what I see in the charts, kind of what my expectations are at the end after looking at these charts. I'll summarize everything in terms of whether I believe there'll be a Santa rally or not. And then I'm going to open it up to questions. We'll see what TA questions that we have. So, with that being said, as I always say, let's get into it. By the way, none of this is financial advice. Okay, we all know that, right? You're big boys and big girls. You're making your own financial decisions. I'm here just to educate. Yeah, you guys know that. All right, cool. So this is the Bitcoin chart. This is on the weekly. This isn't going to work out too well me eating. This is a bad decision. No, I'm not going to be able to eat. Anyway, um, a couple things to point out here. I actually had a little bit of back and forth with someone on Twitter today. Actually, someone who I pointed out to you guys to check out his channel because I think he puts out some good content. I still view his channel and I follow him on Twitter. I haven't gotten the mutual follow, but I follow him on Twitter. And I had a little healthy um, conversation with him on Twitter in terms of what he was seeing and his thoughts on things and what I see. Now, I'll tell you what I see. Now, this is a weekly view, okay? And these are Heiken Ashi candles. On the Heiken Ashi view, the first thing I see here that I want to focus your attention to, this looks to me like a falling wedge, okay? The blue arrow here, this is something I've been pointing out, bullish divergence, the RSI is increasing as we've been going down in price. It doesn't have to play out, but this is sort of like a pressure cooker. It's a pressure cooker because what we also have, we have these descending areas of resistance on RSI. By the way, keep this in mind moving forward, this view, because we're going to look at something very similar on the Ethereum chart. So just keep this in mind, okay? But we have these areas, it's just about touched. We're getting close up here, and now we have an ascending line. This can't really go much further. It's either going to break down or go up, okay? So we'll have to see how that pans out. But the other thing I wanted to do, okay, if we get off the Heiken Ashi candles and we just look at regular candlesticks for a moment here, okay, and interestingly enough, when you get off the Heiken Ashi view, things become that much more interesting on the RSI. You can see just, look at this. Look at the RSI. Just focus on the relative strength index. Look at how coiled we are. Not only do we have bullish divergence, but look at how coiled up we are on the RSI. Think of it this way. what you're looking at on the RSI, it's the same thing as reading a price chart, okay? But it's on a price indicator. So we've sort of like come down here. We have constant resistance, and now we're just coiling up in here. And again, we're either going to break down or up, okay? Now, what is my honest view on this? I'll share a couple things. First off, my honest view is because of the bullish divergence, because of the falling wedge, I think there is a high likelihood that we could break up, and you'll see a break up in the RSI. That's obviously not a guarantee. I will say this, though. While I do feel that there is a high probability for that, the one thing I don't like to see, we're here to talk about weekly closes. I hate this candlestick. This is a nasty candlestick. This is a hanging man no, I always confuse the name of these two. It's a gravestone doji, and it sounds bearish for a reason. Essentially what you have is you have a very small, check this out. You can zoom up on this. When we closed out this past week, we have a small wick here, a huge high wick here, and a thick red body here. That's a very bearish candle, okay? What that is telling us in words is there was buyer exhaustion, up here, and price just couldn't reverse course. This is telling us there's an increased probability that there's going to be a move down. There's more downward pressure on the price. Doesn't need to play out. It's only one candlestick, not a ton of volume, but that's what the candlestick formation is telling us, okay? So maybe, if this falling wedge / bullish RSI divergence, okay, the RSI divergence does play out, maybe price action kind of comes down to this area here where we've already sort of bottomed, okay, and we essentially double bottom at the same spot, and then we begin to move up. We'll just have to be patient and kind of see how this plays out. Now, keep in mind, if we look at the calendar here, December closes out over the course of the next week and a half, okay? And this, I'm sort of alluding to what I'm going to conclude to at the end of the video, but I don't see any major I don't see any signs, okay? I do not see any signs that there's going to be some sort of bullish thrust into the market going into January of 2023. Guys, I've spoken to this before, okay? If we quickly, I wasn't planning on covering this chart, but I think it's important to kind of connect the dots. Guys, as bullish as I am going into next year, and nothing has changed my hypothesis on creating new all-time highs next year, I still think, so look where we're at. I said, if we close below this red line, okay, if we close below this red line at 19.4 and we stay below it, there was an increased likelihood that for several months we would stay under here, and we might not get above and sustain. I'm not talking about price wicks. Monthly candle body closes above this area until like maybe April or May. Okay, so I think that there is a much higher likelihood that for the first quarter, let's just see how the first quarter plays out. I think for the first quarter of next year, you're going to see a lot of chippy chop. Okay, it does not mean that we can't set new all-time highs next year. If you historically go back, which we have done, you will see that once we truly get bullish momentum picking up in the market, it's a matter of several months before things are reaching new all-time highs and creating new all-time highs. It does not take a long period of time, okay? But I think for the first 3 months, more than likely January through March, I don't see a lot of bullish price action coming in. The only thing I could see playing out, okay, and we'll have to assess at that point whether it's a dead cat bounce or whether it's the true beginnings of a reversal, is this bullish divergence in the RSI playing out on the weekly Bitcoin chart. But that's my honest assessment of the chart. I mean, I do not see anything. I'll just kind of get to the punchline that I'm going to get to at the end of the video here. But I don't see a major Santa rally coming in the next week and a half. I don't see that. We have to remain patient. I've been on record telling you 2022, and I've been here since 2017. 2022 has been the most painful correction that I have ever experienced in this market. Okay, it's been brutal, but my view is still that it's a correction. This is not a bear market. Yes, this is not a bear market that we've been in. This is part of a broader wave structure with an Elliott wave providing us with a corrective move. Now, like I had said, to keep the Bitcoin chart in mind, what we had shown, what do we have here? We have a weekly view on Ethereum. We have Heikin-Ashi candles, and what does this look like? A falling wedge, okay, where highs on the RSI begin to be taken out. Now, we have something similar playing out here, right? Doesn't this look similar to Bitcoin? on the RSI? Does that not look similar? So you can see RSI is sort of, it's been declining, right? But now we're in a pressure cooker. We're in a pressure cooker here, just like Bitcoin. So is it possible? Is it possible by next week this bullish divergence could play out in our favor as a bull by next week for Bitcoin, Ethereum? We could see a shoot up to the upside of 10, 15, 20%. Yeah, it's certainly possible. But this is really the only thing leading me to conclude we could close out the year bullish. On a bullish note, I should say on a bullish note, okay? But we just have to remain patient and respect a lot of these key areas that we've already spoken about. It's good for me to see right now that we're respecting this. It's a 1200. Yeah, it's good to see we're respecting this $1,200 area. Again, my current expectation is for the next couple weeks. It could be the next, if the bullish divergence plays out, could be for maybe the next week or two, or maybe even 3. We're just going to kind of chop in here. And eventually we're going to have to test this area of descending resistance and get above prior all-time highs from back in 2017, right? But we just have to remain patient. There isn't anything overly bearish on the Ethereum chart that I'm concerned about. I like to see we're holding around this $1,200 level. That's good to see. Total market cap. Guys, I want to point this out again, okay? When you zoom out, and this gives perspective, has anything changed with this prior weekly close that leaves me feeling convicted one way or the other? No, nothing. Let me restate that. Is there anything that has changed in the chart which has changed my view? That's a better way to put it. Is there anything that has changed since this weekly close that has changed my view on the crypto markets or this chart or any chart? No, there's nothing that has changed. You can see that we've backtested a prior area here that we couldn't even sustain at 17. We've just hit a floor, and we've actually double bottomed. I've spoken to this in the past. Interestingly enough, what do we have here? MACD's increasing, good to see. Okay, getting closer to getting above 0. But what do we see on the RSI? Bullish divergence. Look at that RSI, that steep incline in the relative strength index. And look at price action. It's just slowly churning down, but seller exhaustion is starting to kick in. So nothing material has changed on the total cryptocurrency market cap. Again, if the bullish divergence plays out, what would my expectations be? My expectations would be that we could come up, challenge this line and break it, and come all the way up to this area. And that's where things will get interesting. Can we break above it, maybe back test it, and then continue up, right? But we just have to remain very, very patient. Binance, this is a really good chart to hit on because as people were freaking out, all I did was post a very simple chart. This was the chart. Okay, this is on the weekly. And I said nothing concerning is going on. Guys, how many times on this channel, if you appreciate the content, hit the thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon for notifications. How many times have I spoken to the fact that when we have these areas of resistance, that once we break it, one of the most bullish things to see is to backtest the area and then continue up. What has this chart done on Binance? It's exactly what it's done. Now, there's no reason that price can't continue to come all the way down here and test this support here and then continue up. But to me, the way this chart is setting up on Binance, and especially how some of this bullish divergence plays out in these other charts that we're discussing, let's look at the price indicators. Yeah, price indicators look good. I don't see anything overly concerning here. Depending how some of this bullish divergence plays out on Bitcoin and Ethereum and the total cryptocurrency market cap, okay, I would expect continued moves to the upside here. I would expect this to eventually peter off and continue moving to the upside here. There is nothing alarming about the Binance chart. Again, separate the news narratives. Okay, there's a lot of people putting a lot of unnecessary fear out there. You have to weed through the bullshit that you see on Twitter. Which people are being authentic with you and genuine in terms of what they're trying to share with you, and what people are just invoking unnecessary fear in the market. So whatever the news narrative is with Binance, whatever you make of it, this chart is telling me there is nothing concerning me. Okay, there is nothing concerning me about this chart. And when you zoom out, I mean, dear Lord, is there anything that concerns you about this chart? I mean, look at the ride up here. Okay, if you would have gotten feared out here around $16, $17, you would have missed a ride up to $670. Okay, so again, these are not my opinions. I am literally just translating the data for you. That's all I'm doing. I'm just reading a chart and telling you what it says. I'm not giving you my opinion. Solana is another one. Okay, there's a couple things I want to clearly show within this chart, and I want to speak to, and you want to stick around for this one because I think this one's really important to keep in mind because it kind of hits on a key point that I brought up in other charts. So Solana, what's going on with Solana? Well, first off, let's zoom out. I mean, to me, this looks like a beautiful chart. And right now we're holding support right around, we're just going to call it 12 bucks. We're holding 12 bucks. If we lose 12, I see us going all the way down to this $7 to $8 area. We can assess at that point because if we lose 7 or 8, we're going to go all the way down to 4 to 3. Okay, more than likely. But right now we're holding the $12 area. And as long as the rest of the market picks up momentum, which I am anticipating it's going to, I would anticipate this area to hold. Maybe we do get a wick. Maybe we get a wick down to this $8 to $7 area. Never financial advice, but I would view that as an incredible buying opportunity. Just looking at the chart, not the project, just looking at the chart. But there's nothing overly concerning about this chart. The other thing I wanted to speak to is it on the daily. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to point out is as price has come down and sort of chopped around, look at the RSI. Okay, the RSI, trading views being ridiculous, RSI is increasing. Okay, this is a clearly ascending line here, increasing RSI. So there is some bullish divergence as well that is showing up in the smaller time frames on Solana. Now, here's the other thing I wanted to speak to on this chart, and it ties into a point, a very important point that I have made on other charts. Okay. Look at this gray ascending line of what was support. Do you see how it touches here, it touches here, it touches here, and then we break, right? This line, we have to be realistic because I've shown you in other charts like Digibyte, HBAR, One, Mana. This line is unsustainable to sustain. You cannot sustain this. This is literally a near impossibility, okay? We went through such a massive amount of growth here and created a strong upwards line, a strong trajectory line up. The velocity of that move is unsustainable for the long term. So meaning it doesn't concern me that we broke down this below this line and are hitting a key area of resistance. What does matter is we don't start to break more key areas of resistance and come down here. That's what would matter to me. But the fact that we broke that sharp, steep ascending line of support is not concerning one bit to me. So Solana, this thing is holding up support at around $12. Nothing super, super concerning to me. So I have spoken to the fact that there's something, and I still haven't spent, I spent a minute looking at it, but not enough time. Typically, when the S&P or the Dow and vice versa have started to make moves in a bullish direction and started to reverse, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is charted here, and the S&P, which is charted here, they tend to move around the same time. They tend to move in the same direction at the same time. But what I'm noticing is a divergence here between the S&P and Dow, and I'm not quite sure what to make of it at the moment. Now, I spoke to the fact that if we could, I really wanted to get a close above this line and start moving up towards this 43.25. You can see we did not do that. And this weekly candle here that we just closed, that's circled in orange, this is a mega bearish candle for the S&P. And so to me, it has substantially increased the likelihood that we're going to come down to this line, okay? And if we're touching, and really, this green line corresponds with this prior low I didn't want to see break, which we broke. And really, if we're coming down there, the concern for me, here's the wick, okay, at about 3,500. I don't want to, I personally, for the S&P, because this would not be good for the stock market, it would not be good for crypto. I do not want to go below this area, okay? Watch this very closely. The 200 and this line of what was support, temporary support at this candle body close here, or the wick here. This is at about, I want to get this exact for you guys. Really watch closely. 36, and the 200 is going to move. Watch the $3,600 level. If the S&P starts getting weekly closes below around 36, right around the 200 essentially, SMA, that's going to be very bearish, because what that's telling me is, I mean, there's an extremely strong likelihood we're going to come down here and hit this point at about 35. And if we're hitting support again and again, what happens? It weakens, right? So I don't want to see us come down to 3,500, because chances are we break it and go lower. So, I mean, again, this is a very bearish candle. We really need price. We really need price to hold this area and come right back up and test this region and ultimately break it. And this 21 exponential moving average, which is the blue line, is a key moving average I've hit on many, many times. Okay, so it's really this descending area of resistance here and the 21 EMA that's just given us a hell of a time to try to get above. It's really, you can see that once you move below a moving average and you also have this descending area of resistance here, it's not just chance and just, oh, well, that just happened to hit this area. No, guys, there's a clear descending area of resistance here. There's a reason we can't clear it, okay? Market psychology and human emotion and all these things factor into these charts. It captures everything, okay? The news headlines are the news headlines, but all the shit's captured here. So the fact that we can't get closes above the 21 EMA and break the descending line of resistance, there's a reason for that. But here's why it's confusing to me. Look at the Dow. Typically, if this is what you would see on the S&P, this is what you would see on the Dow, but we've broken the 21 EMA, we've broken the downward area of resistance, and we actually temporarily created a higher high. You could actually call this a double top. I would actually argue this wasn't creating a new high. I would actually argue this is a double top. But still, we cleared a key area of descending resistance. We came up. Now, we've since basically back tested it. Now, are we going to continue moving up? Now, if this is doing this, and this is acting more bullish in nature, and the Dow's acting more bullish in nature, if the Dow Jones Industrial Average is acting more bullish in nature, I would expect to turn over to the S&P and see basically the same thing, which I'm not. So I'm one of the things I'm honestly struggling to wrap my head around and formulate a conclusion on, and I have to do a little bit more homework on history of both of these and how they interact to make sure I feel solid in terms of my approach and understanding of things. But one of the things I'm having a hard time discerning is, what conclusion can I reach from this? Is the Dow Jones foreshadowing what's going to happen to the S&P and it's just lagging right now? Or is the weakness in the S&P foreshadowing that this was basically a double top and we are going to come down for the Dow Jones as well? We'll have to wait and see. But I'm having a hard time discerning these two charts and kind of what it's spelling out for us. So to summarize all of the information that I've shown you based on the weekly closes on crypto in general, they either were sort of neutral or bearish in nature, but there are multiple key charts that are showing some bullish divergence in the RSI, which I like to see, especially on higher time frames on the weekly. There's a chance we could see that bullish divergence potentially play out next week, but I would say the odds are more against us not having some sort of big Santa rally. I think I'd love to see that, but I think that the chances are much smaller for that. I think what we should focus on, investors, is big picture. What do we see coming in the pipeline for 2023? And I've spoken to that. I think more than likely you'll get a lot of sideways chop through the first quarter. After the first quarter, I would expect things to start to begin to turn around, but we will have to see. I would say, yeah, if I had to give an educated view right now, I would say January, February, March, a lot of sideways price action. People are still uninterested in the market. Things maybe start to kick up around April, May. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But with that being said, thank you, everybody. I appreciate everybody in the chat here. Let's see what questions we have. So, and I apologize for the connection again. There's nothing I can do about that. Yeah, you do need to ignore the FUD. You do need to believe in your projects. By the way, welcome in, Kevin. Glad to see you here, my brother. I was just talking to another Kevin today. My long lost golf buddy who I haven't golfed with in in a while, and I'm probably not going to be able to golf with until March. I'm finally getting that elbow surgery, January 25th. So no fun there. So that guy says the S&P is lagging. Too many analysts focus solely on the S&P. That's Dow Jones and Nifty are leading. Okay. Well, we'll have to see. I mean, that is one possibility. I'm saying that, right now I have to spend a little bit more time studying these two charts to come to a definitive conclusion, but that's something I've struggled with. TSE is leading as well. Conclusion is S&P is lagging if you analyze indices of the rest of the world. All right, I'll take a look at that. I appreciate that, guy. So he's saying that essentially the S&P is lagging. We'll have to see because, again, this is really what I want you guys to focus on. Let me know. I'll take a quick chart or two, and chart it out if anybody has any questions. I remain focused on the big picture. And again, and especially like I said, and I really mean this, 2022 has been it has tested me and it has challenged my emotions. But what I have repeatedly said is just trying to exercise logic and not interjecting emotion. The magnitude of the correction, so the depth that it has gone, and the length of time. I would say more than anything, the length of time has really caught me off guard. Really caught me off guard. I did not see this long of a correction, this deep of a correction. But nothing structurally has changed in the chart to make me say, "Oh, this isn't a correction." I was like dead wrong. This is a massive bear market, and we're like starting a whole new cycle or whatever. No, 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 no. I'm still waiting for this fifth wave. I've been talking about this for a while now. So we'll have to see how next year plays out. Too many people, in my opinion, right now are blinded by the halving cycle, thinking that Bitcoin just has to do a certain thing every 4 years. It behaves basically in the same fashion around the halving date. I think that is a silly thought process to have. That while you can look at the halving dates and you clearly can see some correlation there, I think it is a silly argument to say that because 2 or 3 times in the past, that this is what I find silly. 2 or 3 times in the past, price action has behaved in a similar sort of related fashion around a halving cycle or time frame, that now this is what's destined to happen out in 2024. I think what you're doing when you make that sort of statement is you're throwing technical analysis completely out the window. And technical analysis has got me to the point where I am in life today, and so I'm definitely not going to abandon it. I think it's silly to do so. So, all right, let's see. The correction that has occurred this year is the same as the correction that happened in alts. Yeah, we'll have to see. I definitely see some similarities there that I've looked at, and I believe I've spoken to too. So I don't disagree with you. Main difference is 2022 is that BTC was part of the correction and it took longer. Yeah, it's really most weren't here before to make the connection. Yeah, I appreciate the comments, that guy. Hey, great. Check out that guy's comments in the comment feed. Very good commentary. I don't think a lot of people here to see that, and a lot of people, to no fault of their own, are not chartists, so they can't come on here. And I'm not proclaiming to be a professional chartist. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm proficient enough that I can do the things I'm doing and live stream with you guys and have a conversation. So a lot of people just aren't proficient with charts. They just, quite frankly, haven't taken any chart reading classes and become proficient with it. So they can't discern these things. They're more subject to the emotional state of the market. And, things have really taken a longer amount of time to um, materialize within the market. There's a lot more money. It takes a lot more dollar bills to move things around. So that's not surprising. But what's up, Brendan? Welcome in. I'm actually heading out soon. But yeah, it's been a very very harsh correction. So with that being said, guys, these are the only charts that I wanted to cover. So since there aren't any questions, just a reminder: you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on YouTube, you can find me on TradingView, and even Instagram. One word at Crypto Bull God. Shorter live stream today, but I am expecting to be back tomorrow for the Bitcoin Crypto Happy Hour. I'll